The rain outside Seoul had turned the streets into a blur of silver lines when a small figure slipped through the side entrance of a guarded building. The guards didn't notice her at first. She moved with a mix of fear and determination that didn't match her age. Her name was Zuri, just 9 years old, but her eyes held a heaviness that children shouldn't carry. Zuri clutched the straps of her worn school bag as she stepped into the grand hallway. She didn't understand the full danger of the place she had entered, but she knew one thing: this was where the man called Min-Jae worked. She had heard stories whispered by adults, stories she wasn't supposed to hear. Stories about a man who controlled parts of the city with quiet authority. A man people feared. A man who could make terrible problems disappear. Zuri had only one problem: she wanted to disappear. The man hurting her mother. She approached a heavy sliding door guarded by 2 men in suits. They exchanged confused looks as she stepped into their view. "Children aren't allowed here," one of them said. But Zuri didn't back down. "I need to see Min-Jae," she said. Her voice barely rose above a whisper, yet it carried a strength that froze both men. "And why would he see you?" the other guard asked. Zuri swallowed hard. Because my mother might die tonight if he doesn't." The guards hesitated. No one spoke to Min-Jae like that, not even adults. Eventually they led her inside. The room was dim but warm, with shelves filled with scrolls, old books and wooden carvings. Min-Jae sat behind a long desk, reviewing documents. He was in his early 40s, sharp-eyed, calm, and impossible to read. His reputation was built on his ability to stay controlled even in moments of chaos. He raised his eyes when Zuri entered. "What's your name?" he asked gently, which surprised her. "Zuri," she replied, voice trembling. "How did you get in here?" "I walked," she said. "No one stops someone who looks small enough." Min-Jae leaned back. "Why have you come?" Zuri opened her school bag and placed a broken necklace on his desk. A simple piece, a charm in the shape of an African symbol of protection, the very one her mother always wore. "My mother needs help," Zuri said. "The man she lives with hurts her. He hurts me too, but she tries to protect me. Tonight he said he'll teach her a lesson. I ran away to find someone strong enough to stop him." Min-Jae's jaw tightened. Something in that necklace struck him deeply. Something from his past he kept buried, something connected to a woman he once failed to protect. Zuri continued, tears streaming silently down her face. "Please come and save us." Those words cut through the room like a blade. Min-Jae stood up slowly. His men watched him, unsure of what he would do. He had made a rule years ago: no involvement in family matters. It only led to emotional chaos, something he considered far more dangerous than the criminal world he managed. But Zuri's eyes, her bravery, that necklace, everything inside him shifted. He exhaled deeply. "Where do you live?" he asked. Zuri's voice cracked with hope as she explained. When she finished, Min-Jae signaled his men, "Prepare the car now." Zuri's shoulders shook as relief washed over her. She didn't know Min-Jae's full story, but she knew one thing. He had said yes. But Min-Jae's expression had changed too. He wasn't just going to help her. He was remembering something painful, something that made this mission personal in a way Zuri couldn't yet understand. Amahle sat quietly on the edge of a thin mattress, her hands trembling slightly as she wrapped a cloth around a fresh bruise on her arm. The small apartment she shared with her daughter felt smaller tonight, a place that once held dreams now swallowed by fear. She whispered a prayer under her breath, asking for protection, asking for strength, asking for a way out. Her daughter Zuri should have been home by now. The clock on the wall ticked louder with every passing second, each sound tightening the knot in Amahle's chest. Her partner, Kofi, had stormed out earlier after accusing her of hiding money. She didn't hide anything, she never had. But Kofi's anger didn't need a reason. It arrived like an unexpected storm, fast and destructive. Amahle rose slowly and walked to the kitchen, hopping to distract herself, but her movements were stiff. She had been trying to save enough money to escape one day, even if it meant starting over with nothing. She had been planning quietly for months, collecting small bills in a box hidden beneath the floorboard. But that secret was gone now. Kofi found it earlier. His rage had been explosive. Amahle closed her eyes, remembering the moment he grabbed her by the arm, the same arm now wrapped in cloth. She remembered the threats, the shaking, the fear in Zuri's eyes. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Zuri had run to the neighbor's house, but Amahle could no longer assume her daughter was safe. Not with Kofi in this mood. She prayed the neighbor had kept her inside. Suddenly, the front door banged open so hard the hinges rattled. Amahle froze. Kofi stumbled into the room smelling of alcohol. His steps were unsteady, but his anger was clear. His shirt was half-buttoned, his eyes cold and unfocused. "Where's the girl?" he demanded. Amahle swallowed. "She's spending the night next door." Kofi scoffed, stepping closer. "I don't believe you." His voice shook with a dangerous energy. He walked around the room like a man, searching for something to break. He looked at her. Then at the broken necklace in her hand, the one she gave Zuri for protection. He smirked. "You think this thing will save her?" Amahle hid her fear behind tightened lips. "No," she replied softly, "but love might." Kofi's expression darkened. He took a step forward, raising his hand. Amahle shut her eyes for a moment, bracing herself. But then, a loud knock echoed through the apartment. Kofi turned sharply toward the door. Amahle's breath caught. She wasn't expecting visitors. No one ever came here this late. The knock repeated, firm and calm. Kofi marched to the door, irritated. "Who is it?" He flung it open. Standing in the hallway was Min-Jae. Not with loud threats. Not with aggression. Just calm confidence and sharp focus that made the entire hallway feel smaller. Kofi blinked in disbelief. "Who are you?" Min-Jae didn't answer immediately. He simply looked inside the apartment and saw Amahle clutching her arm. His eyes softened. Not with pity, but with recognition. Amahle gasped under her breath when she saw him. She knew that face. Years ago, before her world fell apart, she had crossed paths with Min-Jae during a time when both were trying to rebuild their lives. She remembered him as a man searching for a purpose beyond the chaos he had been raised in. He had once told her, "If I ever see someone in pain and I can stop it, I will." Amahle never thought those words would circle back into her life. Kofi snapped his fingers at Min-Jae. "I asked who you are." Min-Jae stepped forward just enough to make Kofi take a step back. "I'm here for the girl," Min-Jae said, "and for her mother." Kofi laughed loudly. "You think you can walk in here and take what belongs to me?" Min-Jae's voice remained steady. "A child does not belong to fear. A woman does not belong to pain." Something in Min-Jae's tone made the room fall quiet. Kofi's anger flared, but Min-Jae didn't give him a chance to speak again. "Where is Zuri?" Amahle asked suddenly, panic creeping into her voice. Min-Jae turned to her. "She came to me, she's safe." Amahle's knees nearly gave out from relief. Tears filled her eyes. But Min-Jae wasn't done. He looked at Kofi again. "We're leaving," he said, "all of us." Kofi clenched his fists, ready to fight. Amahle held her breath. Something dangerous flashed in Kofi's expression, something that made Amahle realize this wouldn't be a simple departure. Min-Jae sensed it too. Tension filled the room. The next few moments would change everything. And outside, down the hallway, Min-Jae's men were arriving, quietly, efficiently, prepared for whatever came next. Kofi's rage twisted into something sharp as he blocked the doorway with his body. The small apartment, already tense, now felt like a container ready to burst. Amahle's heart raced. Min-Jae stood still, but the stillness wasn't weakness. It was the calm before a move that would change the direction of the night. Kofi pointed a finger at him. "You think you're some kind of hero. You think you can walk in here and take my family." Min-Jae didn't blink. "Your family is afraid of you, that's not love." Kofi's jaw flexed. "You don't get to judge me, you don't even know me." "I know fear when I see it," Min-Jae replied. "I've been it, I've caused it, and now I choose not to." Kofi snarled, stepping forward. "She's not leaving." Amahle tried to speak, but Min-Jae gently raised a hand, signaling her to stay back. He didn't need to shout. His confidence did the speaking. But the moment stretched too long. Kofi's temper was unpredictable, and the room felt pressed between danger and escape. Suddenly, a neighbor peeked out from the hallway, noticing the rising tension. She froze when she saw Min-Jae, recognizing instantly that he wasn't an ordinary visitor. She stepped back quickly, closing her door without a word. "Kofi," Min-Jae said carefully, "move aside." Kofi grabbed a broken bottle from the counter, holding it tightly. "Amahle stays with me." Min-Jae sighed quietly, as if he'd hoped the night wouldn't reach this point. At that exact moment, two of Min-Jae's men appeared at the far end of the hallway. They didn't enter the apartment, just stood still, watching, waiting for Min-Jae's signal. Kofi glanced at them, panic flickering across his face. "Who are they? What is this?" Min-Jae stepped closer. "Give me your pride tonight, or lose everything tomorrow." Kofi hesitated, his breathing grew heavy, the bottle shook in his hand. But fear can make a reckless man bold, and instead of stepping aside, he lunged. Amahle screamed. Min-Jae moved fast, not wild, not angry, just controlled and precise. He grabbed Kofi's wrist, twisted it downward, and removed the bottle before it reached anyone. The bottle shattered on the floor. Kofi stumbled backward, shocked. "Fight me again," Min-Jae said softly, "and I won't be this gentle." The threat wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Kofi felt the truth in it. Amahle's legs trembled as she watched the exchange. She had prayed for help, but she hadn't expected someone from her past, someone she once trusted, to stand between her and the man who tormented her. Min-Jae picked up Amahle's small bag from the floor and handed it to her. "Pack what you need," he said. "We leave in 2 minutes." Amahle nodded and rushed into the bedroom. Her hands were shaking as she gathered clothes, important papers, and a small framed photo of herself and Zuri from years ago, before everything changed. When she returned, Min-Jae was standing near the doorway with Kofi pushed back against the wall, breathing hard. "We're leaving," Min-Jae said again. But Kofi's face twisted, with a grin that didn't match the fear in his eyes. "You think taking them away ends this? You don't know who I work with. I'm not alone, Min-Jae. You're stepping into something bigger than you think." Min-Jae paused, his expression sharpened, sensing something unexpected in Kofi's words. "Who are you talking about?" he asked calmly. Kofi chuckled hoarsely. "Her pain wasn't just from me. You think I got this place, this confidence, this backing by myself. Someone else is behind everything, someone who won't let you walk away with her." Amahle's face drained of color. She had heard Kofi talking on the phone many nights, but she thought he was bluffing about having powerful associates. But the way he said it now was different. Too confident. Too sure. Min-Jae stepped closer to him, eyes narrowing. "What have you gotten her involved in?" Kofi refused to answer and turned his head away. Amahle clutched her bag tighter. "Min-Jae, what does he mean?" "Don't worry," Min-Jae said. "You and Zuri will be safe." But inside, his instincts sharpened. This was no longer just a rescue. Something larger rested beneath Kofi's threats. And the name Min-Jae had spent years distancing himself from, the one tied to the darker parts of his past, might be involved. A past he hoped never to face again. He gestured for Amahle. "Stay close." As they exited the apartment, Kofi shouted behind them. "You're starting a war you don't understand." Min-Jae didn't look back. He placed Amahle in the car beside Zuri. The little girl threw herself into her mother's arms, crying in relief. Amahle held her tightly, tears falling freely. But before Min-Jae entered the car, one of his men whispered into his ear. "Boss, we tracked the calls from inside the apartment. He really is connected to them." Min-Jae froze for a moment. Not fear, recognition. A group he once tried to leave behind. A group far more dangerous than Kofi. He closed the car door gently and exhaled. This rescue was only the beginning. The night air felt sharp as Min-Jae's car sped through the outskirts of the city. Amahle held Zuri close, both shaken but safe inside the back seat. Min-Jae stayed silent as he drove, his eyes focused, his thoughts racing. Zuri looked up at her mother. "Are we going to be okay?" Amahle kissed her daughter's forehead. "Yes, my love, we're together now." But Min-Jae knew the truth was more complicated. Kofi's final words echoed in his mind. The group backing Kofi wasn't just dangerous, they were strategic, ruthless, and territorial. Min-Jae had once been tied to them long ago before he took control of his own life. Cutting ties hadn't been clean. And now Amahle and Zuri were caught in the crossfire. Min-Jae finally spoke. "We're not going to my headquarters, it's too exposed, they'll expect us there." His right-hand man, Do-hyun, riding in the front passenger seat, turned slightly. "There's a safe property outside the city. No one knows about it, not even the old crew." Min-Jae nodded. "That's where we go." Amahle studied him carefully. "Min-Jae, what did Kofi mean? Who was he talking about?" Min-Jae gripped the steering wheel tightly, hesitation flickering across his face. "It's a group I used to run with in my youth. Violent, uncontrolled. They wanted to recruit people through fear and desperation. I walked away after they targeted someone I cared about." Amahle's heart thumped. "Someone you cared about?" Min-Jae didn't elaborate, but Amahle understood more than he said. As they approached a remote road, headlights suddenly appeared behind them, fast, bright, and closing in. Do-hyun glanced back. "We're being followed." Amahle's fingers tightened around Zuri. "Is it them?" Min-Jae checked the rear mirror. "Most likely." The vehicle behind them accelerated aggressively. Min-Jae made a sharp turn onto a narrow side road, tires screeching. The pursuing car swerved and followed instantly. Do-hyun pulled out his phone. "I'll call backup." "No," Min-Jae said quickly. "If they trace the call, they'll know which crew we're tied to. We handle this alone." The road ahead led to an abandoned industrial area, quiet and isolated. Shadows stretched across the empty warehouses as Min-Jae swerved the car behind a large metal structure. "Get out," he said calmly. "Stay behind the wall with Zuri." Amahle hesitated. "Min-Jae, you trust me?" he asked. She swallowed. "Yes." He nodded firmly. "Go." Amahle took Zuri's hand and hurried behind a thick concrete pillar. Min-Jae and Do-hyun stepped out of the car, taking positions on opposite sides. The pursuing vehicle stopped several meters away. 3 men stepped out, their movements confident. They weren't loud, they didn't need to be. Their presence alone showed they were professionals. One of them called out, "You should have stayed out of this, Min-Jae. The woman belongs to us now. She was part of a deal Kofi made." Amahle gasped softly when she heard that. Zuri squeezed her mother's hand. Min-Jae stepped forward slightly, eyes narrowed. "A human being cannot be part of a deal." The man laughed coldly. "In our world, everything is a deal." The second man took a few steps closer. "Return her and the girl, you walk away unharmed, that's the offer." "And if I do?" Min-Jae asked. The man smiled. "Then we take all 3 of you." Min-Jae's jaw tensed. He knew their tactics, he helped create them long ago. And he knew they never left witnesses. Do-hyun tilted his head, whispering from behind the car, "Signal me when you move." Min-Jae inhaled slowly. "Amahle and Zuri are under my protection. If you want to reach them, you'll have to get through me." The leader scoffed. "Gladly." He lifted his arm to signal an attack. But Do-hyun moved first, rushing out from cover and tackling one of the men to the ground. The other 2 lunged at Min-Jae. Min-Jae fought with precision, blocking blows, delivering fast counters, staying sharp and controlled. His movements were efficient, almost surgical. Amahle watched helplessly from behind the pillar, clutching Zuri close. Her mind raced. This was happening because she stayed with Kofi too long. Because she tried to endure. Because she hoped things would change. Zuri whispered, "Mama, is Min-Jae going to be okay?" Amahle blinked away tears. "He will, he's stronger than they think." The fight grew more intense. One of the men reached into his jacket, pulling out a small weapon. Min-Jae saw it too late. "Min-Jae," Amahle cried out instinctively. Her voice distracted the attacker, just for a split second. But it was enough. Do-hyun slammed into the man with full force, knocking the weapon out of his hand. Min-Jae finished the last attacker with a heavy strike that sent him crashing to the ground. Breathing hard, Min-Jae backed away, assessing the area, making sure no more threats lurked in the shadows. "We need to leave now," he told Do-hyun. Amahle stepped out from hiding, rushing to Min-Jae. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "No, but this isn't over. If these men found us this quickly, the rest won't be far behind." Amahle closed her eyes, overwhelmed. Why are they after me? What did Kofi promise them? Min-Jae hesitated, then said quietly. Kofi traded you. Amahl's breath stopped. He owed them money, Min-Jae continued. He offered you as payment. They planned to use you for something that would give them power over people like me. They wanted leverage. Amahle felt sick. Zuri clung to her, sensing her mother's distress. Why, she asked, voice trembling, why me? Min-Jae looked at her with grief in his eyes. Because you were someone gentle they thought they could control, but they were wrong. His voice deepened. You are stronger than anything they planned, and they underestimated your daughter too. Amahl's eyes filled with tears. Zuri hugged her tightly. Min-Jae stepped closer. We're going to end this tonight. Do-Hyun nodded. We strike first before they regroup. Min-Jae placed a hand on Amahl's shoulder. I made mistakes in my past. I won't let those mistakes destroy you. Her voice cracked. Min-Jae, what if they find us again? He met her gaze with quiet determination. They won't. A heavy silence fell, filled with fear, hope, and something unspoken between them. Min-Jae looked toward the dark road ahead. It's time to finish what Kofi started. The sky began to lighten with the early hint of dawn as Min-Jae drove toward the outskirts of the city again, this time headed for a place he hadn't visited in years. A place he once promised himself never to return to. A place where his old crew gathered. A place where decisions were made that shaped the darkest parts of his past. Amahle held Zuri close in the backseat. The girl had finally fallen asleep, exhausted from fear and relief. Amahle brushed her daughter's hair gently, thankful she could breathe without trembling. But Amahl's heart still beat fast. Min-Jae, she whispered, careful not to wake Zuri, you don't have to face them alone. Min-Jae kept his eyes fixed ahead. I do. If we keep running they chase us. If I confront them now they stop looking. And if something happens to you? He hesitated. Amahle, you and Zuri deserve peace. I'm not leaving until you have it. Amahle felt her throat tighten. She never asked for this man to fight for her. She never imagined someone would stand for her this fiercely. The world had taught her to survive silently, but Min-Jae's actions had reminded her she was worth fighting for. Do-Hyun cleared his throat from the passenger seat. Boss, we're almost there. Min-Jae slowed the car as a warehouse came into view, one larger than the others, guarded by shadowy figures who stood in formation like they were waiting for him. They were waiting. Min-Jae stepped out first. The guards straightened their posture when they recognized him. Some were surprised, some wary, some respectful, though no one spoke yet. The leader of the group, a man named Taegun, stepped forward, older, heavier, but still sharp-eyed. So, Taegun said slowly, the prodigal son returns. Min-Jae ignored the sarcasm. You went after an innocent woman and her child. Taegun shrugged. The man promised her a deal is a deal. No, Min-Jae said firmly, you don't touch them. Taegun smirked. You've gone soft, you used to understand how this works. Min-Jae stepped closer. I understand better now than I ever did, that's why I left. The men surrounding Taegun shifted uneasily. Min-Jae's reputation still held weight. He was the one who built their structure years ago. He was the one who taught them how to enforce order. He was the one they never expected to defy. Taegun spread his arms. So what now, you want us to pretend none of this happened? No, Min-Jae replied quietly. I want it to end. The tension thickened. Do-Hyun stood ready several steps behind Min-Jae, waiting for a signal. Taegun laughed under his breath. You think you can threaten us? Zuri slept peacefully in the safe house, holding her mother's hand. Amahle watched her daughter's gentle breathing, grateful but restless. She knew danger rarely disappeared this quickly. Men like Taegun didn't forgive. They paused, they waited, they planned. Meanwhile, Min-Jae stood outside with Do-Hyun, reviewing reports from his scouts. Boss, Do-Hyun said quietly, we traced Kofi's phone. It wasn't just calls to Taegun's people. He reached out to someone else before you took Amahle, someone he trusted. Min-Jae's eyes narrowed. Another group. No, Do-Hyun answered. A woman, name is Ellen Kwame, a social worker involved with illegal adoption rings. Kofi tried to sell Zuri as well. Min-Jae's chest tightened. He stared at the dark sky, fighting the anger rising in him. Zuri had begged him to save her mother, but she never knew she was in danger herself. Inside, Amahle noticed Min-Jae's expression as he walked in. "Tell me what you found," she demanded softly. "Don't protect me from the truth." Min-Jae hesitated. Amahle, Kofi planned to send Zuri away. He contacted a woman who deals with trafficking children under the disguise of adoption. Amahle felt the ground tilt beneath her. She covered her mouth, tears forming. "My daughter, he would have taken her from me." Min-Jae nodded. As Amahle trembled, Zuri stirred awake. She blinked sleepily at her mother's tears and reached out. "Mama, what's wrong?" Amahle hugged her tightly, overwhelmed by the thought of what almost happened. Min-Jae stepped closer, voice steady. "You're safe now. I swear to you, no one will touch you again. But we need to stop this woman before she tries to find you." Amahle wiped her tears, steadied herself and said, "What do we do?" Min-Jae looked at both mother and daughter. "We finish what Kofi started, by ending every threat tied to him. This wasn't just rescue anymore, it was justice." Min-Jae, Amahle, Zuri and Do-hyun traveled to a remote village on the edge of the city, where Ellen Kwame was rumored to hide children before smuggling them abroad. The village was quiet, too quiet. Lanterns hung outside homes, swaying slightly in the wind. Amahle held Zuri's hand tightly while Min-Jae led them down a narrow path. Do-hyun whispered, "Her base is behind the hill. Surveillance shows movement earlier tonight." Amahle felt her breath catch. Zuri should stay behind. Zuri squeezed her hand. "I'm not scared, Mama." Min-Jae knelt in front of her, eyes gentle. "You're brave, but bravery also means knowing when to stay safe. You stay with Do-hyun until I come back." Zuri hesitated, then nodded. Amahle and Min-Jae moved toward the hidden compound. A dim structure stood ahead, small, worn down, but heavily guarded. Two men stood outside talking in low tones. Amahle recognized one of them instantly. "That's the man Kofi used to meet secretly," she whispered. "I saw him give Kofi a large envelope once." Min-Jae observed them carefully, then he knows everything. The man turned suddenly, spotting Amahle. "Hey, that's her." Min-Jae stepped forward immediately, shielding Amahle as the men reached for their weapons. Before they could act, Min-Jae rushed them, delivering 2 quick blows that knocked both men down without a chance to react. The fight was fast, efficient, the kind of precision born from years of surviving violent environments. Amahle watched him breathlessly. He fought not for control, not for power, but for her. Min-Jae broke the lock on the door and led Amahle inside. What they found froze them both. Rows of files. Children's names. Fake passports. Photographs. Amahle's hands shook as she opened a folder and saw Kofi's handwriting. Min-Jae picked up another folder and read it silently. Kofi gave Ellen everything. Zuri's school schedule, the days you were at work, your escape plan, he sold all of it. Amahle collapsed into a chair, covering her face. How can a man be so cruel to his own family? Min-Jae placed a hand on her shoulder. Because he saw you as something he could control, but that ends today. They continued deeper into the compound until they found Ellen Kwame standing behind a table, sorting documents. She froze when she saw them. "You have no right to be here," she said sharply. "You threatened a child," Amahle said, stepping forward. "You lost every right the moment you agreed to take her." Ellen's eyes narrowed. "You think you can stop me? Kofi owed money, that debt is still open." Min-Jae moved beside Amahle. "Kofi is finished and you're next." Ellen reached for a silent alarm hidden under the table, but Min-Jae grabbed her wrist before she could press it. "You won't harm another child," he said coldly. Ellen tried to pull back, but Min-Jae didn't let her go. Do-hyun entered moments later, with Zuri safely behind him. "Boss, the files match other missing cases. She's been doing this for years." Amahle's breath caught. "We can't let her walk free." "No," Min-Jae said. "She's going to face the law." Amahle was surprised. "The law?" Min-Jae nodded. "If I handle this my way, I become everything I left behind. She goes to the authorities, and I will make sure she never hurts anyone again." The moment felt heavy, the line between revenge and justice clear in front of them. Amahle touched his arm gently. You chose the right path. For the first time that night, Min-Jae allowed himself to breathe. But danger still lingered. Ellen Quaim wasn't the only problem. Kofi's network reached further than any of them realized. And T-Gun. He had not forgotten. The next morning, the sun warmed the safe house porch as Amahle brewed tea. Zuri played quietly with some chalk, drawing shapes on the ground. Min-Jae and Do-hyun sat nearby, reviewing updates on Ellen's arrest. She had been taken into custody with enough evidence to expose the entire trafficking ring. Amahle approached Min-Jae gently. You didn't have to take us this far, she said softly, but you did. Min-Jae looked at her with tired eyes. I owed you more than protection, Amahle, I owed you freedom. She sat beside him, touched by the sincerity in his voice. Zuri looked up and called out, Min-Jae, come see what I drew. He smiled, a soft, genuine smile, and walked over. Zuri had drawn 3 figures holding hands. That's you, Mama and me, she said proudly. We're safe now. Min-Jae felt something shift in his heart, something he hadn't felt in years. Belonging. Purpose. Light. Amahle placed her hand over Zuri's drawing. You saved us, she whispered. Min-Jae shook his head. No, you saved yourself the moment you chose to leave fear behind. I only helped you walk the path. Amahle's eyes softened. You could have stayed in that dark world forever, she said, but you chose light. Min-Jae looked at her, then at Zuri. I chose you. Amahle felt warmth rise in her chest. So what happens now? Min-Jae took a deep breath. You rebuild your life, I'll protect you until you're settled. After that, I'll stay close if you want me to. Amahle reached for his hand. We want you too, she said. Zuri hugged Min-Jae's leg. We want you with us. Min-Jae looked at the mountains in the distance, feeling the weight of years lift from his shoulders. For the first time, he wasn't running from his past. He was walking toward a future. A future where he didn't have to fight for power. Only for the people who mattered. The cycle of pain had been broken. Fear no longer held Amahle captive. Zuri would grow knowing safety. Min-Jae would live knowing redemption. And although threats still existed in the world, they would face them together. As a family. If you want to follow Min-Jae, Amahle and Zuri through every twist ahead, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who loves powerful stories. Don't miss what comes next.